I didn't hear the hotel air conditioner. I didn't feel the weight of the conference badge still hanging from my neck. All I could register was the glow of my phone and my mother's face, framed by our old dining room, oak table, too bright chandelier, the stem of a wine glass turning slow circles in her hand. "Please," she scoffed, performing for a small audience of aunts and uncles. "My daughter thinks selling houses makes her successful. She couldn't hack nursing school. Now she's just wandering." Laughter followed, thin and eager. My ribs tightened. An hour earlier, my cousin Jenna had texted, "You need to see this." "I'm so sorry." A link sat under it. Her latest attempt at a day in the life live stream. She'd set the phone somewhere low and discreet, catching the table at hip height. My mother, unaware, turned cruel in high definition. "Remember when she dropped out?" Mom went on, voice sugar over glass. "Came home crying because the exams were too hard. Pathetic. And now she acts like closing a house every few months makes her a big shot." I stared. "My name is S.E.D. Sullivan, 32, Boston realtor by day, daughter turned care coordinator by every hour in between. For 5 years, I've driven my mother to appointments, argued with insurance reps, filled pill trays, and quietly paid what her plan wouldn't touch. Premiums, copays, specialty injections, physical therapy. Because when her rheumatoid arthritis flared, someone had to hold the line. I'd kept receipts for taxes, not trophies. I'd emptied my savings last year when a non-formulary drug became her only chance at walking. Without moaning through every step, I paused the live stream and blinked, hard until the room steadied. The version of me my mother sold to that. Dining room, aimless, fragile. A failed nurse playing house with open houses. Wasn't the girl who stepped out of clinics at midnight to move her car before towing? Wasn't the woman who'd learned how to translate insurance codes like they were another language. I hadn't dropped out. I'd paused nursing school when the hospital called me from a fluorescent hallway and said the word aggressive. I pivoted to real estate because it gave me flexible hours and, if I ran hard enough, a way to fund her care. The stream rolled on. "Some people just aren't cut out for real achievement," she sighed, and took another prideful sip from a bottle I'd bought for Sunday dinners. I let it play to the bitter end. When Jenna finally tipped the phone away, the sound of forks and chatter muffled, I was alone again in my Providence hotel, still in conference clothes, heart pounding against silk. Another text arrived. "I didn't know she'd say that. Want me to take it down?" My fingers hovered. Then, "No, leave it up. I need to show you something when I'm back." The drive home the next morning happened to someone else. I must have checked out, must have passed exits and bridges and billboards, because suddenly I was in my driveway with the engine ticking quiet. I carried my laptop inside, set it on the dining table, and slid out a folder I'd labeled Mom, Medical. It was heavy with proof, invoices, payment confirmations, appointment calendars, mileage logs, EOBs with the parts circled that read patient responsibility, $190, $73, $40, and denied. Not medically necessary. And the follow-ups that overturned them because I would not accept no when walking was at stake. I flipped through the stack and felt something inside me click into alignment. The story my mother told on a live stream was fiction. My life had been the counter-argument all along. Jenna texted from the coffee shop on Maple. I slid the folder into my bag and went. She stood when I came in, headphones around her neck, blue bob bright as a siren. "I'm so sorry," she blurted as I sat. "I didn't know she was going to. I was just filming. It's my whole channel now, you know. Real Family Sundays." I thought it was harmless. "It's not your fault," I said, and meant it. I placed the folder between us, flipped it open, let 5 years breathe in paper and ink. "But it's time I stopped pretending it's harmless for me." Jenna's eyes widened as she paged through. This is everything. There's more than $100,000 here." 120, I said, soft. "And that doesn't count the hours. Or the dreams I shoved into the closet to make room for hers." Jenna's face hardened. Anger looked righteous on her. "She called you a failure." "That's the part I can't unknow." I exhaled and felt the room warm by a degree. I told myself for years that the sharpness was her pain talking, that I could absorb it, that she didn't mean it. But the camera was on, and she meant every word. "What are you going to do?" I had already decided, somewhere between exit 18 and home. I'm stepping off the wire. I'm removing myself as guarantor on every policy. I'm transferring the money I've saved back to school to actually go back to school. I opened my banking app, found the line item labeled Mom, Treatment Reserve, and moved it. The number blinked, then reappeared in my personal savings. It felt small and seismic at once, like signing a new deed to land that was always mine. Jenna swallowed. "Do you want the video file? In case anyone tries to twist things?" "Send it," I said. "I don't know if I'll ever use it. I just need to stop living at the mercy of what other people insist is true." Back home, I made lists the way I always do when I'm scared. Bullet points, check boxes, bold headings. I called the insurer and said I would no longer be responsible for Patricia Sullivan's accounts effective at the end of the month. The rep sounded startled, then brisk. "Without your support, premiums will rise." I asked her to send the formal letter to my mother directly. No drama, just logistics. My phone lit up in a steady staccato. "Where are you?" "The office says my card is declined." "Fix it. Then, stop ignoring me." Then, answer your phone. SEDI silenced the thread and opened a new email addressed to the entire family. Subject line, important update, Patricia's care. I wrote it like a ledger. Not a cry for help. 5 years of coverage. Total amounts, categories of support, dates, and the fact that moving forward, I would not be the one to coordinate, fund, or drive. I attached a clean spreadsheet and hit send. For once, I didn't over-explain. I didn't apologize. I didn't ask for permission to set myself down. The replies arrived like weather fronts colliding. Outrage, guilt trips, silence. One message, from Great Aunt Bridget, landed like a hand on my shoulder. "It takes courage to stop being the net everyone falls into. Call if you need a cup of tea." That night, I printed my nursing program acceptance letter. I'd been admitted months ago, then stared at the start date until the ink blurred, because there were always upcoming treatments, always a reason to defer. I placed the letter beside my calendar and wrote placement exam, Friday in ink with a satisfying drag. I sealed an envelope with the insurer's notice, misdelivered to me, ironically, and tucked it into my outgoing mail with a brief note. Sent to my address by mistake. Please read carefully. No apology. No commentary. Just a redirect. When the doorbell rang, I didn't jump. Through the peephole, I saw my mother on the porch, anger stiffening her posture more than arthritis ever had. "Open this door," she ordered. "Now." My hand stayed on the other side of the deadbolt. "I'm not doing this at the door," I said, voice level. "You'll get the letter this week. Is this about money?" She demanded. After everything I've done, I could have laughed. I didn't. "Goodbye, Mom." Her voice rose, sharp and sure of its power. Mine didn't. I walked away from the door and back to my list, checking off line items with a pen that didn't shake. It wasn't triumph I felt. It wasn't vengeance, not yet. It was something steadier, quieter, more dangerous to the story I'd been hand-fed. Permission. Permission to believe what I'd seen with my own eyes on a glowing screen. Permission to believe that treating myself with basic dignity wasn't betrayal. I closed my laptop, pressed a palm to the folder one last time, and slid it onto a shelf. Tomorrow I would study. The day after I would call admissions. And next week, if the family group chat exploded, I would not be the one to step into the blast. "Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this," I whispered to the empty room. Half reminder, half promise to keep telling the truth. And if you're feeling this chapter, give it a like. It really helps the channel. Then, to whoever needed to hear it as much as I did, comment below what you would have done. The weekend blurred into spreadsheets, phone calls, and a strange new quiet. My dining table, once cluttered with bottles of supplements, appointment reminders, and grocery receipts, became a command center for my escape. Folders labeled insurance, banking, legal spread like a map. Each check mark one more stitch I was cutting from the net I'd been tangled in. The first call came Saturday morning. Mom, 6 missed calls in an hour. Her texts followed like clockwork. Where are you? My refill was denied. Fix it now. Why aren't you answering? The doctor's office says my insurance card is invalid. S said, I swear if you're ignoring me, answer your phone. I set the phone face down and let the silence grow roots. For years, her urgency had been my leash. But I wasn't sprinting anymore. I was steady, deliberate. Then came the second storm, the family. Aunt Maureen, Uncle James, cousins I hadn't spoken to in months, all reacting to the email I'd sent, the one that spelled out 5 years of financial sacrifice in cold, undeniable figures. Some messages dripped with guilt-tripping outrage. How can you abandon her now? Others came blunt and dismissive. It's just money, don't be dramatic. None of them asked about me. None asked how many hours I'd sat on hold, how many nights I'd paced between pharmacy runs, or how many dreams I'd deferred. Only 2 voices cut through the noise. Jenna, who sent me a quick, proud of you, don't back down, and Great Aunt Bridget, who wrote, it takes courage to stop being the family's crutch. I wish I'd done it years ago. Call me anytime. Their words were a lifeline, proof that I wasn't insane for wanting to breathe. By Sunday, I had one more step left, removing myself legally as guarantor on Mom's medical accounts. The insurance rep, polite but curious, asked, May I ask why? For personal reasons, I said, my voice flat, rehearsed. I'll no longer be responsible after this month. Without your support, her premiums will increase. Coverage options may change. I understand. I hesitated, then added, Please send a formal notice to her home address. She deserves to know exactly what's changing. My hand shook when I ended the call, but not from fear, from release. The chain was snapping. The confrontation I'd been avoiding came sooner than expected. Monday morning, my doorbell rang like a siren. Through the peephole, my mother stood stiff on the porch, cane in hand, anger bright on her face. Said, I know you're in there. Open this door. Right now, I didn't move. The weight of the lock between us felt like armor. You missed my appointment. My medication refill was denied. What are you doing? She shouted. Her shadow shifted under the frame. After everything I've done for you, you're really going to pull this? Is this about money? The laugh that bubbled up shocked me. Sharp, bitter, real. Goodbye, Mom, I said through the door. You'll get a letter this week. Read it carefully. What letter? What are you talking about? Her voice cracked, swinging between outrage and mockery. You're being ridiculous. Overreacting, like always. Stop acting like a child. But for once, her words didn't stick. They fell, powerless, on my side of the wood. I walked away, deeper into the house, heart racing not from fear, but from the adrenaline of standing my ground. That night, Jenna sent me the full copy of the live stream. I downloaded it twice, onto my laptop, onto a USB drive. Insurance papers proved my sacrifice. The video proved her betrayal. Together, they were a shield I hadn't known I needed. I didn't watch it again. I didn't need to. I knew what was there. But the knowledge that I had the truth, raw and undeniable, tucked safely into files she couldn't twist, was the turning point. The balance had shifted. For the first time in years, the story wasn't hers to control. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, I'd tell my viewers here, letting them sit in this moment of transformation. And comment below, if your own family betrayed you like this, would you keep the video as proof? Or would you show everyone? 3 days after the storm at my doorstep, the family group chat detonated again. Mom had spun her version of the story, claiming I was having a breakdown, that my business was collapsing, and that stress had made me cruel. The words didn't sting. They rolled off because this time I had proof. I didn't need to use it. Not yet. But knowing the live stream and receipts existed gave me a power I'd never had before. If anyone pressed too hard, all I'd have to do was hit send. And that knowledge alone, that was revenge enough. The weeks that followed tasted like freedom. I re-enrolled in nursing school, pulled my old textbooks from storage, and hired a part-time assistant for my real estate business so I could balance both worlds. It wasn't easy. Late nights bled into early mornings. Some days I juggled showings and labs with nothing but caffeine and grit, but each moment was mine. When I aced my placement exam, I nearly cried in the car, clutching the printout like a lifeline. I was back on the path I'd abandoned, not because I was weak, but because I'd been strong enough to carry someone else's burden. And now, finally, I was setting it down. The confrontation came one more time, this time in a parking lot where Mom stood beside Aunt Maureen. Cane tapping for effect. "You're killing me with this selfishness," Mom said, voice raw. "I can't afford my specialists. I can't keep up. You've ruined everything." I let her words wash over me, steady as stone. "What ruined everything was hearing you call me a failure to the whole family. I saw the video. I heard every word." Her face blanched. For once, she was caught without a script. Aunt Maureen looked between us, confused, suspicious. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't rant. I simply laid it out. 5 years. Over $120,000. Every bill, every appointment, every prescription. And you mocked the very career that paid for all of it. I could see it sink in for Maureen. Doubt flickered in her eyes. My mother's empire of excuses was starting to crack. "I'm done," I finished. "You'll find someone else to rescue you now." I turned and walked away, leaving her to choke on the silence she used to fill with power. That, I realized, was my revenge. Not screaming. Not exposing her live on social media, but walking away with proof in my pocket and dignity intact. Months later, I stood on stage at a real estate awards ceremony, a crystal trophy in my hand, resilience in real estate. I smiled at the applause, but inside I was already looking ahead to the uniform I'd soon wear, the patients I'd soon help, the life I was finally reclaiming. That night, Jenna texted me, "20K views on your nursing interview clip. People love your story." I laughed, tears pricking the edges of my eyes. My story. Not my mother's, not her narrative of failure. Mine. The final revenge wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, steady, undeniable. I passed my clinical exam. I balanced 2 careers. I built a life that belonged only to me. And every time I looked at that trophy, sitting beside my nursing textbooks, I felt it. The sweet, sharp payoff of survival. The greatest victory of all wasn't in proving my mother wrong. It was in proving myself right. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. If this story hit you, give it a like. It really helps the channel. And tell me in the comments, if you were in my shoes, would you have released the video? Or kept it locked away like I did?